Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. Such a powerful praise and worship. But I just want to thank God for bringing us all here today. And I hope by the end of today's session, you recognize how powerful you are to not only safeguard the children, young people, and adults you're working with, but also safeguarding yourself. When we talk about safeguarding, we often think about other people, but it's also about safeguarding ourselves. Okay, so really important that I provide you a trigger warning. Some of the conversations we're going to have today, you may have had direct or indirect experience, whether in your personal or your professional lives. And therefore, it's really important that you look after yourselves. So if anything makes you feel more than uncomfortable, the reality is you might feel uncomfortable. But if anything makes you feel more than uncomfortable, please do leave the space and take a breather. And please do speak to us afterwards as well. Okay, so most of the topics we're talking about today are not new. They've been there from the very beginning. In Genesis alone, what we will now refer to as sexual abuse, honor-based abuse, modern-day slavery, with Joseph's story, it has always existed. However, the way in which we respond to it, the way in which we understand it, and the way in which we give victim support has changed. And it's therefore really important that we update our knowledge and we keep ourselves informed. Safeguarding is a huge concern, and therefore we really need to equip ourselves to be responsible, as I said, not only looking after those in our care, but also looking after ourselves. So if there's anything for you to remember today, I want you to remember the 5 R's of safeguarding. And that's about recognizing signs of abuse. That's about making sure that you know how to respond to it in the most appropriate way. We're thinking about recording, we're thinking about referring, and we're thinking about reviewing. Sometimes we do things and not necessarily the right thing, but it's important that we use that opportunity to learn from that. How can we improve? So if there's anything that you remember today, is the 5 R's of safeguarding. And I'm going to test your knowledge at the end, so make sure you remember it, yeah? Okay. So, what has concerned me, and I think the reason why God kind of guided me to do more safeguarding training within churches, I've been a safeguarding consultant for over 10 years as a 9-to-5, and I also set up my business 7 years ago. When people think about churches and they think about safeguarding, alarm bells start ringing. And we need to change that. As a body of Christ, everything that we do should be done with excellence. And that also means the way in which we put safeguarding measures within our church. I want us to get to a point where other institutions are coming to the church for advice and counsel about safeguarding. That's how it should be. When we recognize that over 40,000 churches exist in the UK, apparently there's more churches than there are pubs. I was quite surprised by that. But that's demonstrating how powerful we can be. We should be impacting, we should be influencing. So I'm glad to be here today, and your leaders are really, key in putting safeguarding on the agenda. And I want it to be a point where other institutions are coming to your church saying, how did you manage that? Let us learn from that. That's the point we need to get to. We are the body of Christ. Everything that we do shall be done with excellence. And why there's so much pressure on the church and expectations on the church. So this quote taken from an inquiry, it says, what marks religious organizations out from other institutions is the explicit purpose they have in teaching right from wrong. This moral certitude of any failing by them in the prevention of or response to child sexual abuse is therefore heightened. So we're not saying that abuse happens in church more than anywhere else. It's the fact that the church should be a place where there's safety. So therefore, when we're doing things and we know it is wrong, we will be held accountable. But as I said, we're moving on from the past. We're going forward, and we're going to be excelling in our safeguarding. And that takes every single one of us, as well as our leaders.